Welcome back to another episode of BestowCast, and we've stolen away, we've hid away, we've hijacked, we've stolen, we've taken. Riley's here. Say hello.
Hi.
Appeared in the Shazam episode, and back by force. We're here to talk about what? I don't know. Disney Star Wars. You got to go to Disney. A month ago? Not even a couple weeks ago. A month ago. I think it's a month.
February 12th to the 19th.
The 12th. So at the time of this recording, it's been a month. It's been over a month. So yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. So what was your experience? You were like, oh, I'm all into Star Wars. I mean, pre Disney, it's like I got to pull your teeth to make you watch a Star Wars film with you. Actually. All right. Have you watched The Mandalorian with me from beginning to end?
Nope.
Exactly.
But listen, so I don't know what it is, but my brain won't let me watch things that are like
serialized,
considered popular, and because
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I prefer watching them after it's died down a bit. I know that's probably because you can't really talk about it much after it's died down.
Season 3 is out now, and I'm not watching it because I rather watch them all together than have to wait a week to see them.
Yeah.
And it's dodging everybody on all social media, and my life has to be on social media because of Bestow TV. So it's a pain, but I understand. And a lot of it I don't want to watch. Like everybody hyped up Obi-Wan, so I skipped Obi-Wan because it's just like, well, I don't necessarily, I don't buy into the hype. So I get it. I understand.
Yeah. So I'm gonna watch it. It's not that I didn't like Star Wars to begin with, because I do. I really enjoy sci-fi kind of stuff, and
so I didn't scar you when all of us watched all the Star Wars, because I think Kyra was kind of coming of age, and she had an interest in Star Wars and had an interest of what Dad was into, and I think you were present. I don't know how old you were. I don't remember how old Kyra was, but we watched all of Star Wars, but we watched them in the original order. So we watched episode 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, and 3, because that's all there was at that time.
Yeah.
I think Rebels might have just started at that time. And when we got to the end of episode 3, scarred the shit out of Kyra. She like cried her eyes out. She was very upset because we tried to warn her, because we were deciding how to break that to her, because we knew that she wanted to be into what Dad was into. And we knew that was going to be harsh. Like I don't know if they even actually got her R rating. I think he pushed for an R rating because he wanted that scene to be brutal.
Yeah.
And she might have been a little bit too soon to show her that one. But I don't remember if you saw that with us or not, or if you were just kind of, you might have been too young where you're just kind of like, I'm just into my own thing and just let it play in the background.
I was younger than 12. So I don't remember.
It would be 3 years difference than Kyra. So whatever she was, I'd assume maybe she was 12 at that time, maybe 10. So that would put you at 7. It would be 7.
Ish.
Yeah. So maybe you wouldn't remember that. Or we probably might not have even allowed you to watch that specific scene knowing.
I don't remember my childhood up until 12. So
it's because I beat it out of you.
Probably. Probably.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
It was a joke. It was a joke, YouTube.
This was a joke.
It was a joke.
This is a joke. Spotify. Apple. Podbean.
Podbean.
Stitcher.
I'll put it on SoundCloud too.
But now you watch those films. I don't think you've ever watched those films specifically with me. I don't think we've watched any of them. Here's a weird thing about me when it comes to movies is that I think I am more nostalgic about the first few times that I've seen it versus the time seeing it afterwards. I mean, there's like hallmarks of like, oh, well, seeing it with Kyra is a different hallmark. But like, I don't think I've watched 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3 since watching it with her. Like, I don't specifically go out of my way to rewatch that because, well, honestly, 1, 2, and 3 aren't really good movies. Yeah. I mean, I find goodness about them. There's things that I like about them. I like that we see more of the Jedi. When I was a kid, we never we can only imagine what the Jedi are about, and we get the Jedi in those movies. We get the Mandalorians in those movies.
Yeah.
We get Boba Fett's origin, but like out of that, that's kind of it. Where like I've never watched those again, and I know like you and I I think we watched like episodes of like Rebels and Bad Batch and stuff like that, but we never really sat down and watched anything in any. I don't think we've watched any of the core movies. We've watched the prequel trilogy together. We've seen those all in the theater, but
but I don't really think we've ever sat down to watch the older.
And I don't even think we've rewatched the prequels. Like once they came out in DVD and stuff, I rewatched
them by myself.
I've watched them once, and then that was kind of it for me because
I'm also
those movies
with Ben.
Those movies aren't really all that good either.
No, they're mid.
Sorry, they're mid. Sorry. Take my geek card. I know.
I'm biased. I like Ben too much.
You know, like Spotify's like, you know what? We were going to look away when you said that you beat Rylie, but were you saying that you don't like the prequels and the sequel trilogy? That's offensive. We're gonna take you off the air. No, I mean it's more of like the memory of it all.
Yeah.
And like I know like I had some bad habits when I was a kid. Like when the original trilogy, the 4, 5, and 6 came out in VHS, I would play them nonstop over and over and over and over and over again. You know how the story goes because you know that watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off with Dad, and Dad can recite Ferris Bueller's from the opening credits to the end credits, always a second before they say the lines themselves. Nearly perfect. Not always perfect, but nearly spot on perfect. Down to the sound effects.
Talk about hyperfixations.
And I did to myself with Return of the Jedi what I did to myself with Nightmare Before Christmas. What happens with Nightmare Before Christmas?
You fall asleep.
How far do I make it into Nightmare Before Christmas before this happens?
You're like maybe 10 minutes.
Like the first song, maybe. and what happens when Nightmare Before Christmas is over? What happens at the end credits? Dad wakes up.
Yeah, you're awake.
Return of the Jedi, because I would put that on as a kind of a movie that I would just chill out to and then kind of fall asleep to. Return of the Jedi kind of does that to me as well. That's a kind of another movie that kind of lulls me to sleep. So I think I even fell asleep when watching it with Kyra. That's the one with the cocaine mini bears.
Coke bears.
The Coke bears. No, the Coke bears that's a copyright.
Okay, all right.
The cocaine bears.
Cocaine bears. Are we even allowed to say that on Spotify?
I don't know.
YouTube.
I don't know. We're far enough into it. I think we're all right. We railroaded so far. I don't remember where the original.
Okay. Well, anyways, it's not that I didn't like Star Wars before. I feel like it was just something clicked while I was in Disney. We stepped into Hollywood Studios. I just remember my Star Wars shirt, and I was having a really bad day that day. Hollywood Studios was not a very good day. And I was with our chaperone and her kids and her family at the time when we first stepped into the Star Wars section. And I remember just stopping dead in my tracks to go and look around, and just my eyes were wide, my mouth was just hanging open, and I was stood there just absolutely flabbergasted because the immersion is just crazy. You have like the stormtroopers just walking around. There's the place where they stand.
Stormtroopers or First Order troopers? They have the duck bill. The First Order had the duck face kind of. I'd imagine, in my imagination, it would be for First Order because that's more Disney oriented than the original. But it could be either. Which I was just curious. Oh, yeah. Rylie doesn't know.
I wasn't. Really
bullshit!
Okay,
I call bullshit on all this.
Okay, because all of the buildings are built to look like you're actually in there. Mm-hmm. And there was this one part where it's kind of the transition between the Star Wars section of Hollywood Studios and just the main park. Mm-hmm. So the main park is, obviously, it looks like a little town kind of area. It is, yeah. And there's this tunnel that when you go in, it's normal at first. Like it's just looks like a tunnel in like a town, but then it starts to transition into being like cut stone.
Mm-hmm.
And it has like all of the marks on the walls that just really look like I don't know how to describe it, but it was just really immersive. And you get in there and all of these buildings, all of the lights, just everything is just built around Star Wars, and it looks just like it, and it's just crazy, and it's awesome. And
I know. I get texts. Dad, I was in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
The actual Millennium Falcon.
I think at this point I was freaking out because I liked it before, but then you get in there and it's like, wow. And the immersion just really does it. It just does something. And I remember I went and got in line for the Millennium Falcon, and we go in there, and I was a gunner at first. So I was in the ship. I sat on the left-hand side, pushing all the buttons and stuff. My accuracy for that ride was at like 30-something%. It was low. Part of that had to do with the fact that our pilots sucked.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to pause you there for 1
Yeah.
second. So just remember, we got to come back to this. But so for those who've never been there, which I've never been there either, so I'm talking out of my ass. There's 4 stations. There's 2 pilots. So the one pilot is up and down, and the other pilot is left and right. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. There's the gunner station, and then there's the science station,
the
engineer station. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. So you're performing 4 different operations during the flight with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And there's actual results.
Yeah, it's like a flight simulation thing. So you go up there if you are piloting it and you run into something, the ship, like the thing will shake and like you'll see the stuff out the front window. But like again, part of why my accuracy was so low is because I was sitting there absolutely freaking out in my mind, trying not to let these people who I've like never talked to before, these strangers, know that I'm absolutely freaking out because I'm sitting in the Millennium Falcon, right? And I'm flying it, and they're flying it, and I'm shooting things, and you can see it out the window, and it was crazy. It was awesome.
And there's supposed to be end results too when you get out of the Millennium Falcon based on how you did too.
Yeah.
They said like certain like the lights on the landing pad might not be working properly or whatever if you flew more poorly than if you flew better.
Yeah. It was just awesome.
And you did it twice.
I did do it twice. Yeah. So like I said,
I did gunner, and I'm going to be a pilot.
I was gunner the first time, and I stepped out of there, and I was like, I want to fly it. I was like, that would just be the highlight of this trip. I'm having a bad day. I want to fly it. But at that time,
was that the time when you all got food poisoning? Was that the same day?
Well, they were getting food poisoning throughout the entire trip. There were people who were sick on the first day, and there were people who were just like, they just kept getting sicker through the rest of the days. And so I was in the middle of a little argument with the friends that I was with. I mean, it was the last day. We were, tired. Mm-hmm. Frustrations getting high.
A week of
people,
not sleeping right, and not eating right, and
and people are sick and they're not feeling good.
And you're
so
trapped with these people for 7 days that you don't normally live with.
Yeah,
and
it's just tensions are high, and we were all kind of prickly, and so we were having a little argument, and the friend that I was with went to go hang out with the rest of our friends, and I didn't want to be with them, so I went with the chaperone instead. And so we got off.
Is that where you were like, I'm flying the Millennium Falcon, you're coming with?
When we got off the Millennium Falcon, I was like, I really want to fly it, but I didn't think that I was going to have the chance to, because, again, I didn't know these people. It's a completely different story when you're in the park with somebody that you've known for a long time versus being with somebody that you've really never interacted with, even though they're there for you. And they were of course they were being really nice to me. They were chaperones. They were including me and stuff, and they were talking to me, asking, like, my opinion, what I wanted to do and stuff. But you could tell that I was kind of intruding because it was them and their family, and then there was just me. just, there, hanging out. And obviously, they didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. These are strangers. So I was like, okay, maybe I probably won't get to fly it, but I really, really wanted to. And then later on, the friend that I was originally that left to go hang out with everyone else, she texted me and she was like, everyone's sick. Guess what? I've been walking around with these 2 random people and they've spent the entire time in the Star Wars section. And I was like, well, like, do you want to hang out and meet up? And she was like, yes. So then we met up and we were talking about it. And she went on it before too with them. And she was also a gunner the first time. And so I was sitting there and I was like, I really want to fly it. And she was like, you know what? I also want to fly it. So we went in. So we had a show that we had to go to. I think it was at like 9:30. We had to meet up by the show place so that we could all go in as a group so we could all sit together. And it was maybe around 8 when we were getting in line, and we were in there for a really long time. Didn't think that we were going to have enough time, but we finally got in there. You were
going to have to bail.
Yeah, but we finally got in there, and this is the funny part. So we went...
Oh, sorry. Not that. You're getting there. Okay.
Yeah. So we went in there, and there's a guy there that tells you, he puts you in like a group with other people and tells you, what you're going to be. And we got in line, and we were going to be gunners again. So we were like, okay, we'll ask the people in front of us if we can be the pilots because, we really wanted to. That's the whole reason we got back on.
Right.
So we asked them, really awkward asking them. And they were like, no, sorry, we really wanted to be the pilots. This is like our second time going on it too. We really wanted to be the pilots. And we were like, okay, that's fine. And they were like, but if you go and tell them, they'll make you a pilot.
Right.
So we were already in the ride at that point waiting to get put on when we turned around to go back because we were like, all right, we really want to be the pilots. Can we switch?
Yeah.
And we turned around.
I'm sure there's just people behind you and they would just...
Yeah.
It's just like riding a roller coaster. If you want to ride the front or the back or whatever, you can...
The guy, when we came back, looked so confused. He was on the phone because he was getting ready to send the next group forward. And he looked at us and he's like, what are you guys doing? He's like,
I don't know if you're allowed to do this.
And we were like, I was like, I'm so sorry. Can we please be pilots? And he was like, all right. He was like, you stand back here, I'll send you forward with the next group. We were like, yes! And we were stoked at this point, because we were gonna be the pilots.
Yes. Meanwhile, the group that's in front of you got screwed because they had no gunners.
Yeah, no, because it was just them. It was just them and us. So it was them as the pilots, and then it was us as the gunners. We had no engineers at that point.
I wonder if I wonder if like there's some sort of automation or whatever.
I'm sure there is.
Like that guy at that door is probably, there's 4 riding, so...
Yeah.
Or if there's 3 riding, he probably hits something on a tablet or whatever so that it goes through that scenario.
Yeah. They also they sent in like people who went in like the single riders line. They would send in people, so if you didn't really if there were like 3 people, they would maybe send in like 1 more person, because that's what happened to us the first time when I was a gunner. They had to send in like one of the single rider guys to be an engineer, so we had the full party. But I don't really know what happened to those people. It was kind of funny because we went back in there after being like set up as the pilots properly this time, and we saw those people and we looked at them and we were like, yeah. And they were like, yeah. They were like, good job. And we were like, we're so excited. And then we get in there. Best experience ever. I did really good flying it. My friend, on the other hand, drunk flying.
Yeah. Flying around asteroids, I guess, doing figure 8s, doing donuts around the asteroid belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were told, like, you messaged me about, like, you were super excited about being a gunner and everything, and I was trying to picture it because, just knowing the geek level of the layout of the Millennium Falcon where they have the gunner turrets.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand that the gunner seat was within the cabin.
Yeah.
Whereas in the media, you actually go to do 2 different turrets, which are on the opposite end of the ship.
Yeah, they were all lined up.
So I was like, oh, okay. I'm trying to picture this because I kept asking about turrets, and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? You're like kind of like shooting back to me like, I don't understand.
Yeah. Because
I don't know, like, again, from the media, I don't know if Millennium Falcon has other, like, weaponry other than those 2 turrets.
Yeah.
I don't think, because the way it's always displayed in the movies, they're never like firing them remotely. There's actually someone that has to be in there.
Mm-hmm. It's the droid making area where you could build your own droid, and that was awesome.
Yeah, I told you about that.
Yeah, they had like we were actually in there before you right before you texted me about it. We were in there and we were looking around at all this stuff.
Like, Rylie, you can build a droid and they talk to each other. If we both have droids, they communicate with each other.
I did find out how much it was to make one. It was $200.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
That was out of budget for both of us.
Because I had a friend who was telling me they also had like
that would have been $400 for you and me to have a
They also because they had reservations to make your own like metal proper solid lightsabers that were $200 each for like a standard one.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who was telling me about that, and he was like, yeah, I wanted to make a droid, but that would have been another $200.
I'm looking over your shoulder trying to see where my lightsaber from your last Disney trip is. Right there. He's still there.
Yeah.
I didn't get a new updated one this year. But I did get something else.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, you had a budget, so I worked my side hustle and gave you an extra $100. So I was like, if you see something that your old man collects, because there's Marvel, I collect the Marvel, I collect the Star Wars, but that there's usually stuff that might be only Disney park appropriate that they only have there. And I'm like, this is specifically, I'm sure I can say that this is for that thing. And they're constantly like, well, here's a picture of, they had the Lando peg warmers. Like, Jesus Christ. Like they're Lando peg warmers up here and it's the same damn thing.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't too surprised that I didn't see more of the exclusives in like the other parks as opposed to in Hollywood Studios that had the actual Star Wars section. Like, I was still kind of surprised that they didn't have more just like anywhere else.
Well, I was reading it after the fact because, spoilers to the end of the story is that Rylie did find a a park exclusive and brought it home because you're like, how about this? Because it was miss after miss after miss. It was like, you sent me a whole bunch of Marvel stuff. It's like, this is all the same stuff that's up here, and you sent me Star Wars stuff. And finally, you're like, how about this? And I'm like, oh, hell's yes. I have never seen that before. And then after the fact, after you had brought it home, I had done the research, and it's like, they do stuff for the parks, but then I guess it gets limited release on Disney store.com or the Disney stores themselves. And this was in the Disney stores because I guess they do a limited run, and then whatever is left is in the store. And it's like, yep, this is an exclusive. You found an exclusive.
Yeah, it was the concept art designs for, it was Vader and someone I don't remember.
Obi-Wan. Yeah, somebody you don't remember?
Sorry. Yeah, I couldn't picture it in my head.
It was, because he doesn't even look like Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Because I was showing that around to other people, and they're like, who's this old man? And it's like, well, Alec Guinness wasn't cast. This is concept art, so this was before any of this was ever made. Yeah. So Alec Guinness was never cast, so this is just some generic old man.
Vader was like blue, isn't he?
He's blue, and he has the elongated face, which is because it's all based off of the Ralph McQuarrie concept art. Mm-hmm. And so so he has the elongated face, which is what they did in Rebels. When they did Rebels, Vader has an elongated face, which is from the Ralph McQuarrie art. So it actually comes full circle. It eventually gets used in the Star Wars canon. But yeah. And they come with lightsabers, which I read in the Ralph McQuarrie art for the first Star Wars. They don't have lightsabers. Because I think the lightsabers were supposed to be exclusively used by the stormtroopers. They didn't define that, Jedi and Sith would have those. It would be the stormtroopers that had those. They were a specific weapon to them. But this one has a pair of lightsabers ignited that has like kind of this kind of flash to it. And I swear, it looks like you can put them together and kind of do a Darth Maul thing with them where you can make it one big lightsaber.
They look cool.
Yeah. I think Obi-Wan has a little bit of he has a tinge to him too. He's kind of a little bit bluish.
Yeah.
I mean, when you showed me the picture, I almost thought it was more from, that it might have been from Return of the Jedi, because it looked more like they were Force ghosts than they were beings.
Yeah.
I think they even do, like, I think even Vader's eyes have the They're kind of like this maroon tint, which is actually something that happens in the first movie. They might have color corrected that tint in the later releases.
Yeah. Overall, though, they're really cool looking figures. They're neat.
The 2-pack. It wasn't. They were. I was surprised. I thought they were going to be gouged because they were Disney exclusives, and it's like they're about the price of a deluxe 2-pack on the store shelf. Well, even the stuff that you were showing me, like the peg warmer Landos and everything, the price points on those were no different than if they were here at Target.
Yeah.
Marvel stuff. You just showed me quite a bit of like Marvel pictures. A lot of it Wakanda Forever. I was surprised. I thought there would be more things that were on theme. Like I thought there would be more Mandalorian kind of stuff.
I'm gonna tell you a secret.
Uh-oh.
So this is
well, you're not telling me a secret. You're telling everybody.
Telling everyone a secret.
But this is my first time hearing it, right?
Yeah. So one thing that I almost got you while we were in Epcot. We were in Epcot, and there's this.
You were in Epcot, but you did not ride Guardians of the Galaxy, which is the thing I told you had to ride. Although you did do Millennium Falcon, so yeah, you did do Millennium. Well, that's brand new for this year, so it's probably.
It was pretty much full every single time. I went in to check it multiple times throughout the day to see if we could get in, and it was.
Well, I was kind of misinformed because I thought the Guardians of the Galaxy ride was the one that took over Tower of Terror, and then looked it up after the fact, and it's like, no, the one that took over Tower of Terror is actually the Avengers compound, and that's in Florida, or that's in California.
Yeah,
that's the California only.
But anyways, we were in Epcot, and there was this really, really big shop. It was the biggest in like that park where there were a lot of people in there, but they in the kind of like Marvel section, they had just a tiny little corner in the store, and there was this light up sign, and it was Guardians of the Galaxies.
Like that sign?
Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was hold on, let me see if I can find a picture.
Please hold the line.
Okay, you got it up there?
Yeah. So this was it, and it was awesome. Nice. It was so cool. It was like
it's kind of the Guardians. This kind of the Star-Lord symbol. Mm-hmm. I think the Guardians later adapted, and it's all neon with the Guardians written across the top of it for those who can't see what we're talking about in our audio only podcast.
Yeah, but I was so close to getting it for you, but then I was like, it's the first day, and that was also pretty much the entire budget. And
I was going to say that's probably expensive, and you'd have to carry that.
Yeah, I would have to carry that.
You'd have to carry that. You would have, if it's the first day, you had the rest of the week to kind of deal with that.
Taking it home was busted. A completely different story.
That's fine.
Too.
Actually, I think I like the figures.
Yeah,
it's cool and all, but I think I like the figures.
I almost got that for you, just as like an add-on to this stuff.
Right.
But
well, I've got a new Marvel hat. I've got I got a split baseball T-shirt. And the
I almost got that shirt for me. I liked that shirt.
It's a neat shirt. I haven't worn it yet because
I would be scared.
I want to. Well, like. Every time I get it out to wear it to your house, and it's like it's just gonna get loaded with dog hair every time. I go, let's just save this until we go to a convention or something. I probably, if we would have gone to the college tour today that got kind of canceled, I would have worn it there. Final thoughts on your Disney trip? Would you take your old man at some point?
Yeah.
Before they tear down the Millennium Falcon and make it into something else?
If I get amazingly rich one day.
That's what you texted me. It's like, when I get rich,
I will 100% bring you. It was
awesome. I will bring you to carry my bags.
I kept catching myself like in the different parks looking at stuff and being like, oh wow, like Dad would really like this. It's
like Dad raised me on all this shit, and then there's the Disney stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's the Rylie review. Rylie, of course, has her own Star Wars bag that she came home with too. So that is it. Do you want to say later to all the folks?
Later.
Yeah, catch you next time.